Tonight, breaking news, the explosion, the search for the missing right now. The images coming in, the horrific explosion at a manufacturing plant. Multiple workers unaccounted for at this hour. Debris landing in yards throughout the community. The blast rattling homes miles away, and we're on the scene tonight. Also breaking, massive firings now underway. Day 10 of the government shutdown. President Trump tonight making good on his threat to fire federal workers and what we know so far. Tonight, a major storm now set to hit. We're tracking what could become the first nor'easter of the season. Either way, the system set to hit the Carolinas right up through New York City and Boston. Winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour or more. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. Tonight, the 72-hour window has begun. The world now waiting for the return of the remaining hostages held by Hamas. And tens of thousands of Palestinians now returning to their bombed-out homes in Gaza. U.S. troops have just begun to arrive tonight in Israel to monitor this fragile ceasefire. Tonight, the stock market back here at home plunging nearly 900 points at the close after President Trump's new threat to China tonight, a 100% tariff on Chinese imports, what the president is furious about. Tonight, the new video right here showing former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez. This time, the video showing what appears to happen before that alleged altercation, and you'll see it. The urgent search tonight for an accused killer released from jail, the major oversight allowing him to go free. America strong tonight with tributes pouring in for beloved Sister Jean, passing away at the age of 106, one of college basketball's best-known fans, and what she said about prayer. And tonight, hear the very personal reveal. You know our James Longman for his compassion, his reporting on conflict all over the world. Tonight, what he discovered about his own father and how he hopes to help so many others.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Friday night. We do begin tonight here with the breaking news. There's been a deadly explosion at a manufacturing plant in Tennessee. The urgent search tonight for the missing, many still unaccounted for. The blast erupting at the Accurate Energetic Systems facility about an hour outside Nashville. The company makes explosives for the military, aerospace, demolition, and then a wave of secondary explosions forcing emergency crews to keep their distance. The blast felt as far as 11 miles away. Listen to this. Homes in the community recording the sound of the explosion scared families with no idea what was happening. Firefighters remain on the scene at this hour, searching for the missing. ABC's Mola Lenghi leading us off from the scene in Tennessee.
Tonight, 50 miles southwest of Nashville, a search for at least 19 missing, multiple people dead after a massive blast at an explosives manufacturing facility.
Can I describe the building? There's nothing to describe. It's gone. It's, again, it's the most devastating scene that I've seen in my career.
5891 Highway 230 West had an explosion at Accurate Arms. Everybody is en route.
The explosion reported just before 8 a.m. at the Accurate Energetic Systems plant, where, according to the company's website, they specialize in the development, manufacture, handling, and storage of explosives for military, aerospace, and commercial demolition markets. Aerial video showing one of the 8 buildings on the 1,300-acre site, now a smoking crater. Emergency crews initially unable to get anywhere near the 1,300-acre facility because of multiple secondary explosions. This Ring camera 11 miles away shaking from the explosion.
I thought our house had something blow up outside because the boom was so loud and the entire house shook.
Lauren Rourke took these pictures of debris that landed in her yard, about 3.5 miles away.
I know just about everyone is probably affected right now because everybody knows somebody that works over there.
Humphreys County Sheriff Chris Davis emotional, telling reporters they're still trying to determine the number of fatalities.
So at this time, we have been able to confirm that we do have 19 souls. That we're looking for. So, excuse me, I ask you to keep in mind those families.
Well, David, tonight this investigation is ongoing. Right now, there are ATF and Homeland Security agents on scene collecting information, gathering evidence, trying to figure out exactly what happened here. and they're expected to be there for at least a few more days, David.
Yeah, we're thinking about all those families tonight. Mola Lenghi leading us off. Mola, thank you. The other breaking story as we're on the air tonight, there are massive firings now underway. Day 10 now of the government shutdown, President Trump making good on his threat to fire federal workers. What we know so far, who's affected, Mary Bruce at the White House.
Day 10 of the government shutdown and with no end in sight. Tonight, President Trump making good on his threat to fire federal workers, sparking confusion and fear. The layoffs announced in a tweet. The president's budget director, Russ Vought, posting that the reductions in force have begun, sending workers scrambling.
It'll be a lot of people.
The White House hasn't said which programs will be targeted or how many workers will ultimately be fired. ABC News has learned tonight layoffs are now happening at the Departments of Education, Health and Human Services, and Treasury. The administration has argued they have to fire workers to afford to keep essential government services up and running, but layoffs have never been required in any previous shutdown. The president himself has been more blunt, saying the shutdown presents an unprecedented opportunity to cut more agencies. And seeking to up the pressure on Democratic lawmakers, he said he will only target Democratic programs.
These are largely people that the Democrats want. Many of them will be fired.
The firings now underway as federal workers are starting to feel the financial impacts of this shutdown. Today, most federal workers receiving only a partial paycheck, their last paycheck until the government reopens. Starting next week, 2 million military service members will get no paycheck at all. And the president has suggested some workers may not get back pay when this is all over. And David, as these mass layoffs were getting underway today, the president went for a physical at Walter Reed, even though he just had his annual exam back in April. And it comes just months after the White House revealed the president has chronic venous insufficiency that can cause swelling, and said the bruises often seen on his hand are due to soft tissue irritation. But the president downplaying today's visit, insisting he's in great health. David.
Mary Bruce live at the White House again tonight. Mary, thank you. We are tracking a major storm about to hit from the Carolinas right up through New York City, up through New England, Boston, and Cape Cod. What could become the first nor'easter of the season. Either way, the system is set to hit with flooding, damaging winds, wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour or more. Rough surf already crashing out of the shore in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from WABC. Hi, Lee.
Hi, David. This storm is definitely going to leave its mark up and down the East Coast, much of the East Coast. It's already taking shape. We've had showers from the Florida Keys, already the Outer Banks, and this storm is still in multiple pieces. But as it consolidates, that heavy rain moves into the Carolinas tomorrow. That's where we get the brunt of the storm. Heavy rain, flash flooding, and damaging winds. Beach erosion, coastal flooding, that's going to last into the day on Sunday. That's when this storm makes a move toward the northeast. Those of you watching in the northeast, it may not be going bonkers by first thing in the morning, but definitely gets heavier as we go through the afternoon hours. In the brunt, second half of the day Sunday, and then Sunday night and Monday, strong gusts, major erosion over many high tide cycles, and heavy rain and gusty winds inland. We have watches from Virginia, flood watches all the way up to southern New England, and high wind watches Delaware, Jersey Shore, Long Island up to Cape Cod. In these areas, winds could gust up to 60 miles an hour, cause power outages. Even inland in New York City, Philly, and D.C., 40, 50 mile per hour gusts could cause problems. Nor'easters definitely have to prepare through Saturday. David?
Yeah, it's going to be a mess Sunday through Monday for sure. Lee Goldberg tonight. Lee, thanks. Tonight, this critical 72-hour window has begun now. The eyes of the world now waiting to see the remaining hostages freed by Hamas. And tens of thousands of Palestinians just now returning to their bombed-out homes. And there's news tonight. U.S. troops have just begun to arrive in Israel to monitor this ceasefire. Ian Pannell in the region again tonight.
Tonight, the 72-hour countdown underway for the release of all hostages as tens of thousands of Palestinians surge back to what's left of their shattered homes. 250,000 people trekking along the dusty road, according to Gazan officials. Mahmoud al-Koshali says his home is destroyed, telling our team, "I thought about not going back, but I have to. Going back is better than staying here." Overnight, Israeli forces completing their partial withdrawal. The hostages expected to be released any time now through Monday. At least 20 of the 48 still believed to be alive in exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners. President Trump set to visit the region this weekend. In Israel tonight, hostage families gathering.
Once again, hundreds of people have gathered here in Hostage Square to honor the families of the hostages, to observe the start of Shabbat, what they hope is the last time they have to do this before all the hostages are finally home.
Itzik Horn had 2 sons taken by Hamas. One has returned. Now he waits for Eitan, believed to be one of the 20 living hostages. Echoing so many hostage families, he says, on the one hand, I'm happy. On the other, I'm unsure, because I know who we're dealing with.
David, President Trump just announcing he's going to be travelling here this weekend and also to Egypt with other world leaders. We're also hearing US troops are beginning to arrive to monitor that ceasefire. And as Gazans start to try and rebuild, the hostage families tonight wait, anxious but hopeful. David?
Ian Pannell will be joining you right there in the region, anchoring this broadcast Sunday and Monday night. We'll see you then. Thank you for your reporting all week. Meantime, back here in the U.S. tonight, the stock market plunging nearly 900 points at the close after President Trump's new threat to China tonight, a 100% tariff on Chinese imports. What the president is furious about. The Dow closing down 878 points, the Nasdaq down 820, the S&P 500 down 182 points. What this fight is about. And here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, just minutes after the markets close, President Trump reigniting the trade war with China, imposing an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports on top of the 30% that was already in place.
They hit the world with something that really is not anything that people are going to do, and it was shocking.
Stocks tanking after the president warned this morning a massive increase in tariffs on China was coming, even saying the move could be potentially painful for Americans. By the end of the day, the Dow was down nearly 900 points, and the S&P marked its biggest drop since April. The new tariffs start November 1st. The president blasting China for new restrictions that would limit access to rare earth minerals, a market China dominates. Those minerals critical for making everything from cars to smartphones. The president calling it a sinister and hostile move, saying there is no way that China should be able to hold the world captive. President Trump now considering canceling an upcoming meeting with Chinese President Xi.
That meeting with President Xi was just 2 weeks away, and big questions tonight if it will happen and whether a longer-term trade deal can be reached with China, David.
Yeah, we'll see if that meeting happens. Rachel, good to have you here in person. To the other news this Friday night, the Pentagon revealing plans to build a new Qatari Air Force facility in Idaho. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says pilots from Qatar will train to fly F-15 fighter jets at the Mountain Home Air Base. Qatar has played a major role in this Mideast ceasefire talks. It's also home to America's largest military base in the Middle East. Tonight, the new video here showing former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez, who was arrested in his hospital bed after that alleged altercation with a delivery truck driver. This time, the video showing what appears to happen before the alleged altercation. And here's Matt Rivers.
Tonight, new video appearing to show former NFL star Mark Sanchez moments before that violent encounter with a delivery driver that authorities say Sanchez instigated. In the surveillance video obtained by TMZ Sports, a delivery truck driven by 69-year-old Perry Toll turns into an alley in downtown Indianapolis just after midnight. A short time later, Sanchez appears on camera, slowly making his way in the opposite direction. Walking back and forth for several minutes on another street, he appears to briefly chat with a stranger. Minutes later, he's seen running back down that same alley. And it's in that alley where police say Sanchez confronts Toll allegedly over parking. In court documents, Toll says Sanchez smelled of alcohol. I was in that alley earlier this week.
The altercation happening right there. Police saying Sanchez attacked the delivery driver. The driver then responding, they say, in self-defense, using pepper spray, even stabbing Sanchez several times. Bleeding, he then takes off down that alleyway.
Video showing Sanchez then running away. Later, in video obtained by the New York Post, Sanchez is bloodied, clutching his chest as he stumbles. Police descending on the scene, the driver taken away in a stretcher. The driver's family sharing this photo of him in the hospital.
David, toxicology reports are still pending. Sanchez is charged with felony battery. His family says he's focused on his recovery as the legal process plays out. David?
Matt Rivers, who's been following this case all week for us. Thank you, Matt. When we come back tonight, news on a Moody Blues legend tonight. Also, there's an urgent search underway for an accused killer. The suspect authorities say was released from jail, the oversight allowing him to go free and where they're searching. Also, the tributes pouring in tonight for Sister Jean, one of college basketball's best-known fans, what she once famously said about prayer. And the very personal reveal tonight. You know our James Longman for his heartfelt reporting, his work from war zones all over the world. Tonight, what he has discovered about his own father. He hopes it'll help so many others out there. Tonight, an urgent search for a murder suspect who got out of jail because of a legal oversight, they say. Authorities say Charles Boatwright killed a man in Baltimore in July. He was arrested and jailed in Charlotte. Officials say North Carolina can only keep a person in custody for a certain period of time. Authorities now say because Maryland did not file an extradition warrant, Boatwright was released from jail. When we come back tonight, remembering Sister Jean, college basketball's best-known fan of March Madness, what she once said about prayer, it made us all laugh. And then our foreign correspondent, James Longman, and what he has discovered about his own father in a moment. To the index of other news tonight, a pioneering force in the British rock scene, John Lodge of the Moody Blues, has died at the age of 82. Lodge, a singer and bassist, joined the band in 1966. So many albums, including Days of Future Past. Lodge's family tonight saying he died peacefully and he was surrounded by loved ones. Tributes to Sister Jean tonight, one of the most beloved college basketball fans in America. Sister Jean served as chaplain for the Loyola University Chicago men's basketball team for 3 decades, the nun becoming a viral sensation when the Ramblers reached the NCAA Final Four in 2018. She famously joked that during games she would, quote, pray for the other team, perhaps not as hard though. Sister Jean was 106. We did so many stories on her and we're going to miss her. When we come back here tonight, our James Longman and what he has learned about his own father. He hopes to help so many others. Finally, our Persons of the Week. Today is World Mental Health Day, and our James Longman on a personal journey to learn what happened to his father.
We all know James Longman for his compassion, his reporting on conflict all over the world. But for some time, he's been working on the conflict within, his desire to unlock his own father's history. He lost his father when he was just 9.
My dad was funny and bright and creative, and he was just my friend. There's a picture of me wearing his clothes, his 2 big blazer, the jeans on. He spent so much time away from me that when I was with him, I just wanted to be around him. When my father died, I was told he had died in a fire. When I was in my teenage years, my mother told me that he had killed himself. And then for the next 10 years, I didn't really know much more than that, other than he had set fire to his apartment. And it wasn't until I was 26 that I found out that he threw himself from the window as well.
For James, it's been a journey to learn the truth.
I was in the library looking for archive material on my dad, and sure enough, I came across the front page of the local newspaper, and I found it really jarring. He was described as a schizophrenic. Only in discovering how my father died and the circumstances of it, did I then discover that his father had also killed himself. And then I was starting to put together this genetic picture of my family. My father having schizophrenia, his brother having schizophrenia, a really damaged family tree.
And like so many others who have mental illness in their family, James worried about his own moments of sadness.
Feeling like somehow I have my father's depression, his solitary nature. And so I wanted to know the truth. How are these things carried in families? I got 120 pages of his medical records. Reading all of his medical notes actually gave me a real sense of gratitude to the people who looked after him.
In fact, James discovered that all these years later, one of his father's caretakers lives just 20 minutes from James.
One of his carers came to my home. I look like my dad, so I opened the front door. She's standing on my doorstep, and she immediately recognized me. She gave me a big hug, and it felt like I was meeting family. She was able to tell me that my dad loved me.
In his new book, The Inherited Mind, James studies the science, too, learning that so much of the medication until now has been trial and error, but recent breakthroughs are giving hope.
Your genetics do not have to be a prison. You will carry a genetic predisposition to a mental illness if you have a family like mine. 2% of your genetic code is the hardware. You can't do anything about that. But 98% of it is the software. That's how your genes operate, and you can do something. You can change how your genes activate. You can turn up or turn down your predisposition.
And above all, James discovered this.
The most important message, I think, that my father has given me from researching his life is that you have to surround yourself with a community. You can't go through life on your own. You need the support of others. Love is what gets you through.
And so we choose the caregivers, including the one James met who took care of his father, and mental health advocates, James now one of them. His book, The Inherited Mind. Good night.
David Muir,
the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.